What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Screencast, a fun little surprise, an unplanned adventure, some would say. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I'm joined today by, it's Christmas in September, Joey Noel.
Hello. This is always a fun thing when we get to do this.
It is. So for everybody listening to this, and maybe you're asking why. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're like, why are they acting like this is weird? We were going to do Beetlejuice in review. And that was the plan. But then the problem arose of Nick went on vacation.
Yes.
And that was always part of the plan, but me and you an oversight on our part of just looking at scheduling and calendars.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, we probably should have Nick for Beetlejuice, right?
Nick. Especially because he does such a good Beetlejuice impression. That was something that I was not expecting to be like a core part of this.
You should check out Beetlejuice in review episode 1, which is live now. That Nick absolutely crushed his impressions to a disturbing degree, I would say.
Yeah.
And watching Beetlejuice 2 the entire time, I was just thinking about Nick. But my thoughts on that movie will come later, as will yours. The real reason, though, besides just trying to wait for Nick now, is you had one of the worst experiences you ever had at the movie theater watching Beetlejuice. Not because of the movie necessarily.
No.
But just because
I largely don't have an opinion on the movie because I was so distracted. If you are a member or on Patreon, I did the Greg way yesterday where I went through the whole thing. But the TLDR is I sat next to a woman in the movie theater who snored and slept through the entire movie. And her friends were elbowing her, kind of getting her awake. And she got up a billion times. So I kept thinking oh, maybe she just fell asleep and it's not going to be like this forever. And it was like this forever, to the point where Kevin and Paula looked over and they were sitting a significant number of seats away from me.
The movie ends.
And it was packed.
And you walked up to me.
There was no other seat in this theater.
You walk up to me, you're like, hey, we got to reschedule this because I literally didn't watch the movie. I need to watch it again. I was like, shit. So anyway, all that being said, we're here now.
We are.
We're let's pivot. Let's do something people have been asking for, what we've been watching update. So we're going to kind of get into some of that. A little in review update for you. Next week, we will be returning to Miyazaki in review, The Boy and the Heron, which is finally coming to HBO Max. So if you have that subscription service, you can finally watch the movie. We will watch it for the first time and add it to our Miyazaki in review, which it's been a while. Been a long time since I think
this came out at the end of last year.
It did, yeah, but I feel like there wasn't even a movie. We were just doing Miyazaki in review just for funsies.
Yeah.
There wasn't something we're leading into. So
just a pandemic choice.
I feel like that was 2020 that we last did it. So it's gonna be wild to go back to that, but exciting. I've heard a lot of mixed things about the movie, so I'm excited to see, because Miyazaki is all over the place. You know what I mean? I feel like everyone's rankings of those movies is different. So I'm excited to see for myself. And then the week after that, we will do Beetlejuice. So I know a little inconvenient, not the perfect schedule, but Nick will be there. So it'll be fun at the very least. But today we're talking about what we've been watching. This is kind of a screencast. Every once in a while we get together to talk about movies, TV, trailers, all of that stuff. So I'm happy we're doing that today. A little housekeeping for you. We're kicking ass over on the game side of things. Our Astrobot review is live now, so you can go check that out. Of course, we're streaming every single day. It's great times all around. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining. Today, we're brought to you by Dragon Age Vows and Vengeance, the podcast, and BetterHelp, but we'll tell you all about that later. We got to get into it. What we've been watching, movies, TV shows, everything in between. Joey, you've been watching a lot of movies, and I want to get your thoughts on a couple of the big ones.
Okay.
M. Night Shyamalan put out his latest. I, myself, am a very big M. Night fan, even though you never know what you're going to get.
No.
With a Shyamalan movie. Is it going to be a classic? Is it going to be horrible? Is it going to be somewhere in between? It could be any of those. Trap. I have not seen it. You have. What'd you think?
Trap is so fun. I think that M. Night's really interesting because I feel like in his last few iterations with Knock at the Cabin and Old to a degree, I feel like he's moving away from a big twist thing being the main point of his movie, and now it's just what is this interesting scenario and what does it look like to have characters go through and experience this? And that's definitely the category that I put Trap in for sure. Josh Hartnett has an incredible performance.
What's the pitch of Trap?
So the pitch of Trap is that Josh Hartnett takes his daughter to this really crazy concert, and she's the biggest pop star who's also M. Night Shyamalan's daughter. So an interesting way to cast it. And he takes her to this concert. It's this whole thing, this like father-daughter bonding. It's like kind of awkward, kind of weird, but like very cute. Then he goes to the concert and he finds out that this whole concert is a trap to catch this serial killer, because at some point they figured out that he or she had bought tickets to this concert. So it is lined with police and like criminal investigators and security and everything. So he's already there when he finds out this. And so now it's just a matter of like, are they going to figure out who he is? Is he going to be able to get out? Because there's all of these checks and stuff like that to make sure that they're like screening everybody appropriately as they go in and out of the venue. It is, it's so fun. Josh Hartnett, I've been like a huge Josh Hartnett fan since like Pearl Harbor, I feel like was like the first one that really got me, which like not a great movie, but one that really stuck with me as like a junior high
big deal
kid.
movie, yeah.
And like it's been really fun to see him come back in these last few years. Black Mirror, he did the episode with, I think it was it Aaron Paul was the other one? And then he was also had like a small cameo in this most recent season of The Bear. So it's just exciting to have Josh Hartnett back in general. But this is a role that he doesn't really do. I don't feel like he's really the bad guy ever. Or maybe like I just don't watch those movies where that's kind of the role that he takes. So it's really fun to watch him. It's definitely focused on him and the relationship with his daughter. And it's fun to see the way that his brain works and kind of the ways that he tries to thwart the system to get out of this. I don't know that it's like a top tier M. Night movie, but it's super fun. I went opening.
I mean, the fact that you even question that is pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I feel like with some of the more mid-tier, lower end M. Night movies, I don't think that they're fun, and that's part of it. And so the fact that at least this one's fun and Josh Hartnett is good means that like kind of the loose plot stuff and like is easily kind of hand-waved away for me personally. I went opening night. It was a Thursday night. The theater was packed.
Awesome.
And people were like,
still got it, everybody.
I've usually will end up going to like a Thursday night movie at Regal for opening night if it's something that I'm interested in. And this is the one that was like packed out way for sure compared to even like a lot more of the more mainstream ones. So there is something still about the M. Night name, whether or not the movies are like good or bad, that still puts people in the theater. And that's like really impressive.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of movies that like I think of Borderlands that has like the star power and like the franchise power, but couldn't get people necessarily in seats.
Yeah. For good reason.
Yeah.
Piece of shit. We reviewed Borderlands, everybody. If you want to go check out that screencast a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oof.
Oh, yeah.
That was a rough one.
I think that's a skip for me. But yeah, it's really fun. It's one that I've thought about kind of a lot since I've watched it too, where I'm like, I would watch this again. I think it's fun.
Wow, okay.
The music is like kind of a banger too.
Interesting. Didn't expect that from an M. Night movie necessarily.
And it has some like really fun casting choices. Alison Pill plays his wife.
Oh, Alison Pill. Oh, from Scott Pilgrim, the drummer.
And then Haley Mills, like old school Parent Trap Disney, plays like the main investigator.
Sick.
And so it's just funny, like the meta thing of like you cast Haley Mills, who's known for the Parent Trap, in this movie called Trap, is just like kind of a weird, jokey, fun thing.
Fun.
But I think it's like definitely worth watching.
Yeah. Hey, you sold me on it. I mean, I love M. Night stuff.
Yeah.
So like, again, even if it's bad, I enjoy it for being bad. And it's like, but you still root for the good ones. That's the thing. Is like
100%.
he's proven he still has it and can every once in a while bring out a banger. But he got to keep you on your toes.
100%.
You know?
And this is definitely that where you're like, oh, there's so many different paths in this movie.
So the other movie that you watched that I'm very interested in your thoughts on is If.
It is.
What is If?
If stands for Imaginary Friends. It's the John Krasinski directed, like,
from the mind of John Krasinski is the pitch of this movie.
It's like the kids movie. Essentially, it's him. It's Ryan Reynolds and Steve Carell, the other big name. It's like, I remember a lot in the marketing leading up to this. It was like the reunification of John Krasinski and Steve Carell, who plays like one of the main imaginary friends. The pitch is that there's like this group of imaginary friends, essentially, that like are discarded because they're like not really needed anymore. So this girl is like kind of trying to figure out how to connect them with new kids so that they are able to like live their full lives, kind of a thing. I remember being berated with this trailer. This is one of those ones, like, I feel like right now it's Speak No Evil that you get hit with at every single screening. for a movie. It's not great, but it is better than I thought it was going to be. Like
Okay.
I was like I probably would never watch it again, but I had a decently good time. I'd probably give it like a 3, where it was like
A 3 out of 10?
5.
Oh, 3 out of 5. We're on
Where
a
it's like-
10-point scale now, Joey.
Oh, sorry. I am like, especially
Because we
for
gave Borderlands a 3
oh,
out of 10.
ooh, yeah. I think my brain is so focused on like the letterbox star ratings for movies and stuff like that. That's always what I default to. I think it's like a solid 6, 6.5. Not anything necessarily that I would watch again, but
Why'd you watch it?
My mom wanted to watch it, and I
Okay.
was home this weekend.
Gotcha. Cool.
So this was the one. I love the scale between my parents, where my mom wanted to watch this, so I watched it with her, and then my dad ended up watching the last half of Rebel Moon Part 2 with him. I'm
The
like,
last half of Rebel Moon Part 2.
I was
Great.
like, these are both movies that I always wonder who are the audience for, and apparently it's my parents. The thing with this movie too is if you're into Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds, he's fun in this. I think I'm a little bit fatigued on like Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds. So it didn't necessarily hit as much for me, but I think it's not as bad as people were kind of clowning on it to be.
I find that so interesting, and you bringing up this Ryan Reynolds situation.
Yeah.
I love Ryan Reynolds, and
Yeah.
I feel like he is who I want him to be in every single way. And I love him. I think he's very funny, and I like that him being Ryan Reynolds just works.
Yeah.
Having said that, there's a handful of movies he's done that I see and I'm like, I have no interest in watching this. Like,
Yeah.
like this isn't the level of Ryan Reynolds that I think I'm looking for. There's this, and then there was also the Adam Project.
Yeah.
Which did you see that?
I had not.
Those are just 2 movies that I'm just like, I don't know.
And
For
I
as much as I like 'em, I
understand,
don't know.
like we're probably not the target. We're not the target audience for this. So I think it's one of those where I'm like, I'm happy that it exists and it works for people. Like my mom really loved it, and I don't know if it's because like, did you ever have like an imaginary friend growing up? Is that a thing?
No, I wasn't an imaginary friend guy. I had like stuffed animals and shit that I was like
Yeah.
really attached to, but like not imaginary friend. No.
That wasn't really my thing either. But like my mom had told me like growing up that she had like 2 little imaginary friends, and then they moved houses, and like
Oh no.
kind of the whole like there was like a whole story to it. So I think if that is like something that you have in your past that like you have nostalgic feelings about, I think that's obviously going to hit differently for you too.
Yeah.
I wonder too if like kids really have them these days, because I do feel like we're so overloaded with like characters and different IP that it would be like more of like a personification of like, I like, this is my Doc McStuffins like toy or whatever,
Yeah,
and like kind of
exactly.
playing that way versus something that's like a little bit more creative and like nebulous. So I would be interested. I haven't really like gone down the rabbit hole of like looking at reviews on Letterboxd for this one, but I would just be interested in.
I remember seeing
anecdotally.
the like just Twitter chat
Yeah.
about this. Like people were like really hating on it, but not as bad as Harold and the Purple Crayon, which I didn't see. I don't plan to see.
No, I don't either. I think it's such an interesting casting choice to go with Zachary Levi to play a child character. For all I know
Zachary
about,
Levi playing a child that looks like an adult. It's weird, right?
yeah,
Like we would never actually do that. That's
yes,
Shazam.
Shazam, we got that. But like, I don't. Harold and the Purple Crayon is not something that I'm like very, very familiar with.
I'm
But
not at all.
by look, it's a very kid-focused character. And like, frankly, I don't want to watch it to even figure out the answers to my questions. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, fucking Zachary Levi.
I
Me,
know.
Nick, and Greg were at a Starbucks with him recently. It was weird.
Did you guys say anything?
No, we were like, this is one of those situations we don't want to say anything to you. We don't want a picture. We're good. Zachary.
We are good. I hope you enjoy your coffee, kind of a life.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a movie this
Ooh.
weekend.
Tell me.
Didi. Very different than the ones you watched there.
Very different, though. Very much up my alley. I saw a
Yes.
trailer for it for the first time, maybe at Alamo Draft House when I went and saw Twisters or something like that. It looks so good. It's like a classic A24 vibe.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not. It's Focus
Yeah,
Features,
it's
but-
exactly. It's Focus Features. This is a film by Sean Wang, written by Sean Wang, produced by Sean Wang. Very, very, very indie, very smaller title here. It was recommended me. I knew nothing about it at all. Didn't see a trailer, haven't heard anything. And then all of a sudden, a lot of my friends in my group chat started being like, yo, y'all need to watch this movie. It's so relatable. Y'all will all love it. And then
I
they
don't feel.
started.
Does your friend crew really do that for stuff? Because I feel like it's
Not, I mean,
rare.
yeah, every once in a while, but like when
Yeah.
something hits, then there's definitely the like. Normally, like with my group of friends, it'll just be like we all know okay, these guys like the superhero stuff. These guys still like Star Wars. These guys like the more artsy shit. And it's like, there'll be like weird Venn diagrams, but I'm definitely out of all of them, like the movie guy. Like I'm the one that like sees everything compared to them, and TV shows and all that shit too. And this was one where it started and they started talking about it. And then they started being like, Tim, you need to watch this. Like you're going to freaking love this. And so I was like, all right, cool. Let's give it a shot. It is a coming of age film. Takes place in 2008 in Fremont, California, which is very, very close to San Francisco. And it is one of those coming of age films that's as close to home as you could possibly get in literal ways, and also just the story that it's telling. And it's really good. You said that it reminds you of Lady Bird. Which is essentially the girl from Sacramento, which you're the girl from Sacramento, so it's really relatable that way. I don't think it's as good of a movie as Lady Bird. Like I think Lady Bird is
what about like 8th grade?
I think 8th grade's also better. 8th grade by Bo Burnham, but I put them in a similar tier. I think this is worth watching, and it's very different. I don't want to get too far into why and how it's different, but there's something about this that feels like it focuses more on being real than sensationalizing nostalgia, or like even in ways of like, I feel like both of those movies did a really good job of place and time and making you feel a certain way, and like there's a lot of empathy when you're seeing these characters and you're like, oh man, like I know exactly what you're going through, and I just want to shake you and tell you like it's gonna be okay or whatever. This movie though, I feel like did a great job of presenting things fairly accurately and in a thought-provoking way that I feel like it did a good job of kind of explaining things that I thought I understood. And I feel like I now understand better, which is pretty cool. And I feel like a good thing to be able to walk out of a movie from. Also, some laugh out loud moments. It's not a comedy by any means, but it is so genuine, and there's an authenticity to it all, and to the voice of Sean Wang that you feel through it all, that just hits really hard. I think you're going to love it. I'm It's on premium VOD now, so
which means like I'll probably watch it tonight, if not this weekend.
Yeah, but Didi, D-I-D-I, a great movie.
Hell yeah.
Before we get to ads and stuff, I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay.
Jumping from movies to TV shows.
Ooh.
Only Murders in the Building, season 4.
It's crazy to me that this is on season 4.
And that's the thing. Season 4 just started. We're 2 episodes in now. Season 5 just got greenlit. Here's what I want to say about this show. We've talked about it a couple times, a handful of times here at Kind of Funny over the last couple of years. And I feel like it's a interesting one because I can't recommend it glowingly. I can't just be like, it's hella good. Y'all, everyone should watch it because of the quality of the storytelling and the show. Because it's the premise of the show is they all, Selena Gomez, Steve Martin, and Martin Short all live in a fancy building in New York, and a murder happens, and they are trying to figure out who the murderer is, and they make a podcast out of it, and that's the premise of the entire show. Which is so funny because that's the premise of season 1. Yes. So then I'm always, how is that still the premise of the show 4 seasons in? And that's what's very interesting about it. This show came out at a time that I still feel like we're kind of in this era that the murder mystery is popping the fuck off, and like the kind of silly, fun murder mystery stuff. Like we also had, God, I'm blanking on the name now, but the
Glass Onion,
thank you, After Party, which is an amazing show on Apple TV, 2 seasons, and unfortunately that's now done. But I recommend you guys watch both seasons of that. That show was so creative and so much fun to follow along with, and the murder mystery stuff actually really mattered. And then, of course, Glass Onion and Knives Out. And I just feel like there's a lot of really high quality, similar toned things that when you look at the story and the murder and the mystery of this, it doesn't hold a candle. Like, it's so whatever, 5 out of 10, doesn't matter. But the longer the show goes on, the more I realize that does not matter. That is not the point of it. The point of it is the creativity and chemistry between the leads and the supporting cast. And the supporting cast is insane and just continues to be more and more insane. It's the type of show that every season there's cameos, but then there's also surprising, like, recurring characters. And the world acts as if it's our world, where Selena Gomez is not Selena Gomez. She is a character, and Steve Martin and Martin Short. But when they meet other characters, there's a 50-50 chance they're actually playing
themselves.
Like Zach Galifianakis is Zach Galifianakis. And when they play that, it can get so funny of just these like people that we know so well playing themselves, but like they might be assholes or they might not. It's like version. It's just they do a really good job with that stuff, and you never know who you're going to see next, and they always make it worth it. But beyond that, there's something special about the show that it has such a unique tone and vibe to it with the production design and the music and the theme song and the look of it all. And the look of the building that the murders take place in is beautiful. And they've done such a good job of kind of setting up the characters and the world and all their dumb little stories that here we are 4 seasons in. And I'm like, this show is so just okay. But why do I want to say it's great despite it just being okay? And one thing that I keep going back to is, how are we 4 seasons in on this? Why am I so surprised by that? Because shows just don't do that anymore.
It's crazy that like we don't get long running shows.
And there's something special about the fact that this show every year has had a season come out. And every time a season comes out, I can't believe there's more. And then we start watching week to week. And I'm just like, this is just a joy to watch. The show delivers. And I feel like it is able to learn from its mistakes and then adapt on it by the next season. So I think it just gets better and better. And again, I don't necessarily think that it's like, even at the point now where I'm like, oh, this is great. Yeah. But overall as a show, I'm like, this is I do think it's a great show, despite any one bit of it not being that special. But every season has at least 1 or 2 episodes that kind of do something that I've never seen done before in a show. And like, that's like the focus of the episode. And I'm like, man, I hope the show keeps going forever. And what's fun about it is I feel like a lot of people might say it's meta. There's so many things that are meta these days, right?
Yeah.
This isn't meta. This is just clever. And the way that it plays with the premise of how ridiculous it is that how are we 4 seasons in and there's still murders in the building happening. Y'all should watch, because I feel like the way that they handle it all is really interesting. And like the plot of season 4 is their podcast has gotten so big and so widely covered that Hollywood wants to make a movie of the story.
The Scream 3.
And it's the Scream 3. And they're so far doing such a great job of like, Eva Longoria is introduced, and she's the actress that's playing Selena Gomez's character. And Incredible. They interact, and I'm like, this is so fun. Like, I'm really, really into it, and I highly recommend people check it out on Disney Plus or Hulu. I guess it's a Hulu show, but no.
They're all together. It's hard to keep track.
Exactly.
I watched like the first little bit of maybe the first half of season 1, and I didn't love it, so I didn't keep going, which I was so bummed about because I love Martin Short and Steve Martin. But the fact that you're telling me that it gets better every season, and like I'm always such a sucker for celebrities playing themselves but amped up. It makes me think of Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 when James Vanderbeek played like extra him and stuff like that. And I think is it Extras with Ricky Gervais, I think, does that too, where it's like a bunch of celebrities that play themselves, or Curb, or like all of those kind of things. So I think I might give it a shot.
I think you'd like it.
And I like murder stuff.
Yeah, Cameron Kennedy in the chat says, oh, damn, I missed it. The most mediocre show I keep watching. And like, Cameron, do you agree that like, while it's mediocre, you keep watching it, you start enjoying it more because it's like,
that's my sweet spot.
They start getting it. Like, I feel like they start understanding themselves even better. And it's like, they lean more into the things that work than the things that don't. And like last season, there was a whole bunch of, there's like musical moments, like, which is just weird, but like it won Emmys for it. like
so
Steve Martin won an Emmy for like songs in this. It's just
that's
wild stuff.
I also really love seeing how much Steve Martin Short talks so highly of Selena Gomez, because I feel like she kind of gets pigeonholed into like still being the Disney kid or music, and like this seems like this is like a really kind of like career defining role for her,
which is so bizarre, so truly bizarre. But anyways, everyone, we're going to get back to talking about more TV shows and movies that we have watched after a word from our sponsors.
From the award-winning game studio BioWare comes an immersive fantasy series, Dragon Age: Vows and Vengeance. A pair of heroes brought together by fate to embark on a journey of revenge, redemption, and love. Set in the vast world of Thetis, Dragon Age: Vows and Vengeance features key characters from the upcoming game Dragon Age: The Veilguard, rated M for mature. Let's check out a trailer.
So, what's the mark?
The Eye of Cthiska. From the world of Dragon Age.
comes a new tale.
The Eye was crafted centuries ago by a powerful dreamer.
Listen to me. You've been tricked. We have to put this back and leave.
I'm sorry, but I won't let you pay for my mistakes.
The Eye will destroy it.
Dragon Age, Vows and Vengeance. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts.
Check out Dragon Age, Vows and Vengeance, an 8-episode immersive fantasy series now at kindafunny.com/dragonage. That's kindafunny.com/dragonage. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like? Or was that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back-to-school era can come at any age. Some of Tim's best friends use BetterHelp and love how helpful it can be for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who have experienced a major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/kindafunny today for 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/kindafunny.
And we're back. Joey, English teacher. I don't know anything about this. What is it?
So this is a brand new show. There's literally 2 episodes out. It's an FX show, which is really all I should have to tell you specifically.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, I feel like both Tim and I are huge fans of what FX and FXX end up doing. And this is a teacher who is teaching at a high school, and it's just kind of like their shenanigans. The first episode setup is like he's kind of in trouble because he was dating somebody that's on staff on there and kissed him, and now it like kind of set off this whole thing. We're only 2 episodes in, and they're 20 minutes, super easy to binge through. FX does such a good job of making really fun ensemble casts, and the gym teacher and the redheaded girl whose names I don't remember are really, really fun additions. The principal too, of just like what it's like to teach older kids. There were like some comparisons to Abbott Elementary, which I don't necessarily think are the same, because this is more of like, because they're teaching high school, not peers necessarily, but having students that are like aware of the internet and filming their teachers to post to like dunk on them and like all that kind of stuff, which I guess kind of also happens there. But it's definitely more adult and navigating more of the teachers' lives and social stuff. It's really good. And like the biggest compliment I can give it is that after I watched 2 episodes yesterday, I'm like, I'm so bummed that there aren't more.
That's exciting. I mean, you sold me on this because all I've heard about this is the comparisons to Abbott Elementary, but I think that's just in premise more than anything.
100%.
This looks great, and it being FX definitely sells it for me a lot more too.
Yeah.
Because did you watch Abbott Elementary, or do you watch it?
I love it.
You love it? Yeah,
I do.
We watched season 1, and for some reason I'm just like I don't get it. I don't get what's special about it or like good about it. And like I've been a Quinta fan forever from BuzzFeed, so like fucking shout out to her for killing it out there with this stuff. But this I guess looks more up my alley. Like hopefully the high school vibe.
I think that
fits a little better.
you guys will like it. The premise for the second episode is that it's like the Powder Puff football game, and they bring in one of his or somebody he knows that does drag for the football players to do like the halftime show and stuff like that. And like you would think it would be like gimmicky and stuff like that, but it's like kind of like heartfelt and really good. I was just like, oh, this is it, but like still laugh out loud funny.
Hell yeah. Not what I expected. When you were like, oh, English teacher, I was like, was this gonna be some weird drama or some shit?
Oh no, this is definitely funny.
Well, speaking of dramas, House of the Dragon, the drama of my life.
Did you finally get to watch?
Well, we still have 2 episodes left.
Okay.
So that means we have approximately 14 hours of content left. These are the longest episodes in the world, but I am not complaining at all. Yeah. I am loving season 2 of House of the Dragon. I loved season 1. I love Game of Thrones. And obviously it ended very poorly in my opinion, with season 8 of Game of Thrones. But just being back in Westeros and the more than that style of production that these shows go for, it's just unrivaled, man. Like the storytelling and the fact that I could just watch these characters talk in a room, sitting at a table for fucking hours because that table is made of flames. Like there's a map that there's flames underneath it, Joey, and the way that the map like lights up is the fire like lighting through.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's just so sick, man. And all the costume design and just all the intrigue. And what's so weird about House of the Dragon in particular is it's a prequel, and prequels are always incredibly difficult because it's like we know where we're going and like how is this all going to be worth it, and like what. Everyone's waiting for like the oh man, they referenced this thing that's gonna happen later. With this, because it's so deep and lore heavy, and there's like, and it's based on books, and specifically this book series is more of like a anthology or like encyclopedia of like a history of time.
Oh, interesting.
So there's like a lot of time jumps, and there's just a bazillion characters. It's confusing, but I feel like the show does a good job of using their last time on like recaps to tell you everything you need to know, because I get lost all the time with this shit, like super lost. But then episode to episode, I think they do a great job of keeping the themes intact and like having the branching story overall. But like, I just think they're very well directed and very well thought out on a, like every episode feels like it is a complete thing itself. I do question how they're going to wrap everything up in the next 2 episodes, because it doesn't feel, this season feels a lot more like character setting the stage for the future as opposed to like telling a story that is building to a conclusion, because I feel like after season 1, which I know you didn't watch, you haven't watched any of this stuff, but
no.
Season 1 ended with like a holy fuck, this is why I love Game of Thrones, how the fuck are they going to deal with this next time?
Yeah.
And it kind of just, not that they're not dealing with it, they're just dealing it a lot slower than I expected them to. But I'm not complaining about that, because we're getting a season 3, we're getting a season 4. I mean, that's the plan. Season 3 is greenlit, 4 is not greenlit yet, but they're saying 4 is going to be the end. So I'm down to like let them have their time, because I am really loving it, and it's been very interesting to watch the show, not week to week, and also not while everyone else is watching it, because I haven't experienced one of these shows like that, and it's just weird to not have people to talk to besides week to week or day to day that we've watched these things. But
do you think that you're enjoying it more because you're not caught up in the conversation one way or another?
No, I don't. I like that. So I like the conversation. So I just feel like I'm missing out on something here. But yeah, it's just, they still got it, man. And I don't know that it is as good as it used to be in every way. But like, I mean, I think that so far, I think season 2 is better than a couple seasons of Game of Thrones. And like, we don't need to rank everything. Like we don't need.
Oh, that was crazy.
Scared myself. We don't need to rank everything against other things. It doesn't have to be the best thing ever to still be incredible. And I think that this is like, I mean, it's incredible. Like every episode that ends, I'm just like, how the fuck did people make something this good? Like, it's so impressive as a TV show.
Do you think that you're at this point enjoying it more than Game of Thrones, or are they just like 2 different things?
I'll never enjoy it more than Game of Thrones is like, I enjoy this because it's more Game of Thrones.
Got it.
And Game of Thrones can be many different things. But there's something about the tightness and of the story of Game of Thrones, and then how it expanded beautifully in this like woven way of like every element they add is going to tie in and better informs you on choices that they made in the past, and just, oh man, it was just so good until it all kind of unraveled. This feels a bit more like, it just feels like more. Which like I'm not going to complain about, because like there's
you don't
a great
necessarily
story
need,
being
but
told.
you're happy that you have.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm very happy we have it. The biggest complaint I have is I wish that the theme song just wasn't the exact same theme song.
Oh,
Like, it's literally just the exact same recording, and it's like even if it was the same melody and just different instruments or something, I'm like, that would be sick, because the visuals are amazing. It's still a non-skipper for me. You start the show, I'm watching it all the way through, all the way damn through. All right, time for the game.
Speaking of TV shows with theme songs that I will watch every time, I started a journey into watching True Blood.
Finally, it is your time.
I know. I was in LA with friends, and we had been talking maybe about Twilight stuff. And then, of course, when you bring up Twilight, True Blood comes up. And Andrea was like, oh my gosh, I've actually been wanting to go back and rewatch it. I was like, oh, well, I've never watched it. And both her and Maria looked at me like, this is the most Joey-ass show of all time. How have you never watched this? And I think it came down to like, I didn't really have HBO for a long time, so I think I missed out on a lot of those. which is why like in the past year I've watched like Girls and Sex and the City and now this and The Sopranos is on my list and stuff like that. So I'm through season 2. Have you watched it at all?
No,
Do you have any context for it?
No.
Okay.
Is this the one Nina Dobrev's in?
No, that's Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, I always get these
I
Pretty
get them
Little
confused,
Liars,
too.
Big Little Lies, fucking.
Yeah.
I get them all confused. Big Little Lies is the only one I've seen.
So this one is where Alexander Skarsgård is like his vampire one. This is the really sexy
He's
one.
also in Big Little Lies.
Oh, he is. This one's Anna Paquin, who
Rogue.
we know. Yeah, exactly. From so many things. And then it has some of the, like, I'm only through season 2, so I haven't hit like a lot of the big cameos, but like Janina's in this later seasons. Joe Manganiello, I think this is where a lot of people found him for the first time. And it's there's a group of vampires. They live in like the normal world. It kind of seems a little bit like an allegory for like LGBTQ kind of stuff in terms of like the vampires are now kind of out for the first time and integrating into society, and there's still like a lot of prejudice and stuff like that. True Blood comes from like the name of the synthetic blood that like they now sell in bars and stuff like that. But then the vampire blood is also very coveted. They call it I forget what they call it, but it's essentially
V.
like thank you.
V blood?
They
Yeah.
just call it V.
Kind of
like
like-
it's a drug. Like
Yeah.
you're on V.
Compound V.
And yeah, people kind of like essentially try and trap and drain vampires so that they can get this blood and sell it like on the black market and stuff
They're
like
real
that.
strong.
Yeah. They have like cool powers and stuff like that. Suki has like some weird mind reading stuff. It's really fun. The accents, because it takes place in Louisiana, it's like kind of weird Southern, and like the Cajun accents are like not necessarily great, I don't think, but it's campy as fuck and just a fun watch. Like the group keeps getting bigger and wider, and like the craziest things are starting to happen. So I'm having a great time, and it's just like it's all these hot people, and they're all like just like fucking all over
It's
the
a very
place.
horny show, right?
It's the horniest show of all
Okay,
time.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
Hell yeah. I love. It's just, you can just go back to True Blood. You know what I mean?
I know. This is the benefit of the streaming service is like, oh, all these things that I've missed out on, I can now catch up on. So I'm very happy that this is the one that is on the docket for now. Sometimes I got to break up all of my Real Housewives catching up, you know?
I get it. We're not going to go too far into this, but where are you at right now?
I am like season 11 of Real Housewives of Orange County. That's the one that I'm trying to get through right now. After that, then I want to do like Potomac, Miami, some of like the shorter ones and not the ones that are like 17 seasons long.
Yeah. Season 2 of Dubai. Real Housewives of Dubai. Pretty good. Pretty good. We're almost done with it.
I do feel like that's on the list too, because that seems like it has the like opulence factor that I think a lot of the other franchises are missing.
For sure.
So that's also on my list.
Next up, you had Why Women Kill.
This was like a random one that once again, like one of the last times I was home, my mom was watching on like Paramount Plus.
TV show?
TV show.
Okay.
It's 2 seasons. They're totally standalone, different. And I think the series has been killed. The first one, the premise is really cool. It's 3 different storylines over 3 different time periods, but they all take place in the same house. So you're flip-flopping between, you have Jennifer Goodwin, who's from like Once Upon a Time. She headlines the like 1950s Housewife one. Then you have Lucy Liu in the 80s.
Sick.
Super fun. And then I don't remember who's in like the modern day one necessarily, but you have all of these storylines. Like the people themselves aren't really intertwined, but because they're all locked into the same house, it's fun to see how that changes. The series finale is really cool because you have like the climax of all of these stories happening in the house at the same time with the actors kind of interchangeably like
that's cool.
interacting around each other. And it's really, really fun. The second season is all set in one time period. There's like one neighborhood kind of that they focus on, and it's just like how everybody's interconnected in the stories. Obviously, it all goes back to like a murder kind of basis for it and like what drives people to like kill, where there's like madness or passion or anger and all this kind of stuff. I think it's like a really fun, easy binge of like 8 or 10 episodes, and you can kind of leave it at that. But I really, really, really liked the first season. The second season is also good, but I think the premise of the first one is better.
That reminds me of that new Robert Zemeckis movie with Tom Hanks.
I don't know.
That I saw a trailer for recent. I forget when, but Kev, do you know what I'm talking about here? There's
I do not.
so Robert Zemeckis, the Back to the Future director,
Here?
is here sounds right. So the entire premise of it is the entire movie is just one shot. And it goes through like it starts with just like dirt, and then you see the building get built, and like you see like cavemen and shit around.
Oh my gosh, Robin Wright.
And then it's a story going through the entire life of them living in this house, and like
that's cool.
him like getting married and having kids and dealing with a whole bunch of shit, but it's all one shot. And I'm like, God, what a cool premise. But watching the trailer, maybe it'll play better in sequence as a movie. But there's something about the trailer that I'm like, I don't know if this is working.
Oh, interesting.
Well, does it go back to like prehistoric times?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
And it's the
it's
camera
all the same,
angle's the same.
Same shot. Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
It's super cool, right?
It seems like that would be a hard gimmick to have for a whole movie. I think it's like a cool in a short form.
I'm just I mean, they're going to go all the way through. My problem is like I feel like the beats are going to be a little predictable in terms of like, all right, what we're going to deal with. But they could pull it off. And I mean, obviously they have the talent, they have the cast like that.
Oh, yeah.
That could be cool. But there's something about the way that the trailer cuts together. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I don't like this.
This is a cast: Tom Hanks, Robin Wright. Man, I can never say her name. Paul Bettany, Kelly Riley, who's from Yellowstone, Michelle Dockery, who's so good. She was from like The Gentleman and I think Downton Abbey. Like this is a banger lineup of actors in this.
Yeah. Huh. I'm hopeful. I want to see it because like it could be cool.
November 1st.
I forgot, what was the last thing Robert Zemeckis did? I don't think I liked it that much.
Let me click.
Robert Zemeckis.
Scroll on down. Feature films. Pinocchio, The Witches.
Oh, yeah.
But like the bad.
The Witches.
Pinocchio.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And before then, it was Welcome to Marwen, which is that weird like miniatures, dolls, Steve Carell movie.
I don't know about that.
The trailer, it was one of those trailers that I feel like I saw a million times. It looked kind of kooky, but
he directed Death Becomes Her.
Oh, a classic.
That's
that is now
featurely
back.
referenced in Sabrina Carpenter and Jenny Ortega's new music video.
Yeah.
Feature film.
That's another one that I'm excited for October to like. Do you ever do like the 31 days of Halloween?
No.
Kind of stuff?
Not really.
Okay.
But
I always think it's fun to do that.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't rewatched Death Becomes Her in quite some time, so add it on there.
The Bikeriders.
Oh, the Bikeriders. So good. It's on
What is
Peacock right now. It's a story essentially of this motorcycle club. It's headed up by Tom Hardy. He plays like the leader of it all. Austin Butler's like his right hand man, kind of a little bit like his I don't know what the right term, cooler. I guess I'm trying to think of like what they call Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse. Like he kind of is the one that like roughs people up when like shit goes down. Jodie Comer from Killing Eve plays Austin Butler's wife. And Mike Faced from Challengers plays this kid who wants to be like essentially a photojournalist, which I get may or may not have existed then. The way that he talks about it makes it seem like I want to do this thing, but I don't know if I can do it. And I'm like, oh, that's definitely a thing now. And it just documents this motorcycle club and like kind of how it gets out of hand and stuff like that. It starts in the 60s and kind of goes through the mid 70s. It's really good. I really like Austin Butler kind of in everything that I see him in like even especially interviews and stuff like that. He just seems like very like a nice human being who's like genuinely interested in stories and people and stuff like that, kind of no matter what.
This looks crazy.
It's really good. Boyd Holbrook is in this.
Ooh, love him.
The guy from The Walking Dead with the motorcycle, Daryl.
Yeah.
He's in this, but he
Reedus.
plays, yeah, I know, which is like the most obvious casting of all time. But he doesn't even really look like himself in this movie. He has like crazy hair in his like teeth and like doesn't have the mustache part of his beard. And he looks, it was one of those like, is that him? It's a really interesting cast. It's a drama, but like not super heavy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It has like a really good soundtrack too of like 60s and 70s music. I just really like him and Tom Hardy. People were giving like a lot of shit for the accents in this movie, but like I went through and like saw videos of like people that they were interviewing that it's like based on, and it's like, oh, that's exactly how they sound. So like,
yeah,
sure, it like sounds a little weird, but like nailed it in terms of like what they were going for. It's on Peacock now, so it's like a pretty easy accessibility watch kind of a thing, but it's really good.
Something that looks really good, but I haven't watched it yet. But I think I need to make time for it. Is the Terminator anime? on Netflix.
I've heard really good things about it.
We were just on Netflix, like blading through, watching some bullshit. And then I saw like the name pop up in the trailer and it started auto playing. And I was like transfixed by it. I'm like, this trailer is
Terminator Zero.
Incredible. And the cast of it looks awesome. And I was just Googling it. It's getting incredible reviews too.
Yeah.
It
Timothy Oliphant and Rosario Dawson.
Come on.
And Dowd, who's also incredible.
So yeah, man, that one to me. Somebody watch it and let me know if it's worth watching. But I think it looks like it's gonna be.
I think I've only heard good things about it, so I think it might be worth. You know, it's 8 episodes, so it feels like a fairly easy watch through.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, closing out the show here, Joe. We have a very important question from Twitter from Simply Kroll. Hey, at Joey Noel. Thanks for the screencast. Can you give your thoughts on Gilmore Girls? Just finished it last week with my girlfriend. We want to know your thoughts. We have time to throw it in.
Oh, yeah, of course. Gilmore Girls, one of my all-time favorite shows. This was a show that like I grew up watching when it was airing, and it's so good. The characters are so fun. Amy Sherman-Palladino, I'm a huge fan of. She also did Marvelous Miss Maisel and Bunheads and stuff like that. She just has like a really fun way of writing characters that talk really quickly. It's kind of like Sorkin-ish in terms of like the walking and talking, the references, and da-da-da-da-da. Like I'm sure their scripts are like massive compared to like a normal hour-long comedy drama. It's interesting to rewatch shows that you loved as a kid as an adult, because then you start to like identify with different characters and you're like more critical of characters and stuff that you loved before. So as I've gotten older, and because I rewatch this usually kind of every fall, or I'll go through parts of it. Rory is like super annoying to me now, whereas like I loved her at the time. And there's always the debate of like, which partner do you like better for her? And like, I used to be a Dean girl because he was like so sweet and nice. But then you understand it's like, oh, he's her first love and the hometown boyfriend that she kind of outgrows and all this kind of stuff. And then you have the bad boy Jess who like really gets her. And then you have the rich boy who's like, oh, he understands where she comes from in her family and all this stuff and pushes her. So you have like all these different things that make it fun kind of to watch. There are a few things that I have issues with in the show of like, the last season, they didn't bring back Amy and her husband to write the last season. So there are a lot of choices that they make in there that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like that Luke had like a secret daughter that he didn't know about. And like, this is not a fun thing to bring in. We don't really like her.
Secret daughter in the last act.
Also, she's
Never
like
good.
really annoying, which like I'm sure she's supposed to be annoying, but she is. And then they brought back to do, I'm interested to know if you watched A Year in the Life.
What's that?
A Year in the Life came back like 10 years after, and they did 4 like hour and a half long episodes, one for each season, to kind of like catch up with the characters again. And that's by the original Amy and Dan.
Did you like it?
No.
Oh,
like
no.
it's just one of those things. I think also like she's working around choices that she didn't make necessarily. So you're like kind of trying to like combine what I assume their like finale ending for the show is with what actually happened, and like how do you tool that around. I think they have some like really fun episodes, and it's fun to see some things in there, but I think ultimately like, the way they handled Emily, which is the grandma at the end, is like also kind of weird and some stuff, but overall I love it. I think it's a great show, and it will always be one of my favorites. I think the way that they talk and the way that they insert pop culture references and stuff like that, I think is like really kind of what seeded my love for pop culture and movies and TV and all that kind of stuff. So I credit it with like a lot of, because I feel like the DVD sets had like, these are all the references and what they're to. So I feel for a while I was going through and like watching all of that stuff. So I feel like it has given me kind of like a broad
appreciation of different things that you didn't have nostalgia for immediately.
It's so fun. And even though I do have issues with it, I will go back and watch it every year, similar to Friday Night Lights.
Love that. Let us know in the comments below what you think of Gilmore Girls, if you watched it or if you're ever interested in watching it. And did you like the later seasons? Let us know. But like we were saying earlier, In Review will return next week with Miyazaki in review, The Boy and the Heron. And then after that, Beetlejuice 2. And then I think after that is Transformers 1.
Ooh.
We'll see if the rumors are true. We'll see.
I can't imagine it being good based on the trailers.
But everyone's, again, more and more people now, Joe, that are just telling me. So we'll have to see. But I love you all.